Florence, 1389. A boy is baptized into a medieval world. He was not of noble birth. He was the son of a local merchant. His name was Cosimo de' Medici. From humble beginnings, his dynasty would seek power and influence, and not stop until they secured the papacy itself. Theirs was a world where power came at a price. Intrigue, murder, assassination, and war. But the city of Florence was also a cauldron of creativity. And for the greater glory of the family, the Medici would protect and pay for the greatest artists and thinkers of their age. Michelangelo, Brunelleschi, Botticelli, Leonardo, Galileo. An explosion of ideas which would shatter the medieval world and resonate through the centuries in a single phrase. Rinascimento, rebirth, renaissance. Behind it stood the Medici, godfathers of the Renaissance. At the dawn of the 15th century, an illicit trade had begun. Men scoured Europe in search of treasure. Somewhere in the confines of the Holy Church lay their prize. Not the jewel-encrusted relics or sacred icons of medieval Christendom. Nor were they seeking to loot the bodies of the dead, victims of war and plague. But hidden in the darkest vaults of the church lay a prize far older and more precious, and sometimes far more dangerous. What these men were really after was knowledge. Cosimo de' Medici and his friends were searching for lost secrets from the ancient world.
The shared feeling at the time was that the achievements of the classics in many fields, from philosophy to architecture, from rhetoric to sculpture, were unsurpassed.
At the beginning, it was just sort of fun to dig up old sculptures or interesting to discover lost manuscripts in faraway monasteries and bring them down and read them. Took them a long time to realize that there was a whole other way of life being embodied there. So there's this sense of excitement about the past, but it's also dangerous.
From across Europe, ancient learning was carried back to Florence, the city of Cosimo's birth. Florence, in the year 1400, was a city unlike anywhere else in Europe. This major trading center, at the heart of Tuscany, was a republic in which powerful families vied with each other for political control.
Florence was the place to be. As we all know, every age has a place. In the late 19th century, it was Paris. In the late 20th century, maybe it was New York. At the turn of the 14th and 15th centuries, it was Florence.
In a side street of the main piazza, an ambitious family was trying to make its name. The Medici Bank was a small-scale operation run from the back room of a wool shop. The growing business was managed by Cosimo's father, Giovanni de' Medici. Giovanni had risen from rural poverty through a combination of aggressive salesmanship and financial caution. He chose his clients very carefully. It wasn't just profit he valued, it was loyalty.
This is a society in which, for your guarantees of protection, you look to a man, and he is your patron and you are his client, and all the other people associated with him are your friends, so that you can achieve almost anything with this web or network of friends of friends.
Baldassare Cossa was a former pirate who had embarked on an alternative career in the church. Now he had ambitions to enter the Vatican, even to become Pope himself. All he needed was a campaign fund. Giovanni knew that the church was in chaos. The papacy itself was up for grabs. With enough money, even Cossa stood a chance of success. Giovanni dared to back the unlikely outsider. The Medici prepared a lavish loan. It was an enormous gamble for their local business. The family supported Cossa all the way up the ladder of the church, from priest to cardinal. And then the bet with the pirate finally paid off. In 1410, Baldassare Cossa was elected Pope John the 23rd. And the first thing he did was remember his friends, the Medici. The new Pope needed a bank he could trust.
Giovanni and Cosimo completely control the papal account. They become known as God's bankers. That's what the Medici becomes known as. And also, of course, they get that account over all the other big Florentine families. So they've made it. They've finally arrived.
With their sudden leap in status, the Medici joined an elite group of powerful Florentines. But, like all the leading families of the day, they would become transfixed by their city's humiliating failure. When Cosimo was offered control of the city of Florence, he modestly accepted. revenge on the Albizzi was selective but severe. Cosimo preferred plain and simple gestures. A loss of good face was a badge of public humiliation, a public threat to all challengers. The Medici were back in business. A friend described Cosimo's new power. Political questions are settled at his house. The man he chooses holds office. It is he who decides peace and war and controls the laws. He is king in everything but name. Money began to flood back into Florence. Brunelleschi led his workers back to the Dome. And the Medici Bank continued to grow.
It was basically under Cosimo that the bank expands from this really powerful, solid base. But where the money was diversifying internationally in having branches from Barcelona to Bruges to Cairo.
On behalf of the church, the Medici Bank collected money from every parish in Europe. No one was exempt, and Cosimo's agents threatened excommunication from the church to those who were slow to pay up. The Pope himself opened a huge credit line with the Medici, enough to buy 10 palaces. The Medici Bank was now the most profitable business in Europe. But wealth had never been enough for Cosimo. He began to commission the finest craftsmen of his age.
Cosimo developed a strategy in spending money in such a way that wealth would be transformed into prestige and power.
Cosimo de' Medici became the most sought-after patron in Florence.
Cosimo spent 600,000 golden florins in patronage, which is 6 times the total state entry for 1 year. Patronage is great for the production of art, but totally irrational from an economic point of view. Patronage is a political strategy. This, in my opinion, is one of the keys to understand the Renaissance. This high political competition expressed through patronage in a city with those art potentialities gave birth to an art market that has no equivalent elsewhere in Italy at the time.
Why the artist needs the patron is very simple. There are no public art markets in the Renaissance as we have today. You didn't make art and then put it in the shop window and wait for someone to buy it. You only made art when somebody commissioned it from you and paid you for it more or less in advance.
In his final years, he baptized and then buried both a son and a grandson. On Cosimo's death in 1464, the city of Florence declared him Pater Patriae, father of the fatherland. But who was left to lead the Medici? Who would fill the shoes of the godfather of the Renaissance?